And hello, and welcome to another edition of Ask the AD. I'm Dave Horger. This, of course, is Greg Christopher, the athletic director at Bowling Green State University, and it's been a while since we've had to talk. So how's your summer going so far?
So far, so good. Busy June. Get ready for some vacation in July. Okay. Except for basketball coaches, I think July is kind of the chance that everybody has in athletics to catch a week or two, and before you know it, student athletes will be here in August.
Speaking of basketball coaches, I know two of them have moved into a brand new building, and that's exciting stuff. It's here. It's a reality. So talk, if you would, about the Stroh Center.
We got the keys Thursday or Friday. I can't remember which day of the week it was, but you're right. Kurt, Lewis, Denise, and then the staff moved over there. And I know they're excited. I started getting text messages in the morning and pictures, and as they were moving their boxes. I think Jason was the one that dragged us out of bed for the Channel 11 stand-up and their morning show, and we had a little impromptu hoops game to open the building. But no, it's obviously it's not done. I mean, there's a lot of little stuff, punch list stuff and graphics, final touches, and I'm sure as we go even through this first year, there's going to be things that we want to change or modify. But it's exciting, and it's you know, we haven't used the building yet. You know, there hasn't been a game or an event there, so let's see how it goes from that standpoint. But clearly, I mean, it is the home run we expected it to be, at least at this point, and as we move in.
With the opening of the Stroh Center, and obviously much publicity has been given to that, and understandably so. Some of the hockey fans are thinking, how about our ice arena?
Mm-hmm.
Bring back the glory campaign. It's still in full swing. What's happening over there?
Well, the ice arena is down again this summer. Some work, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.5 million, maybe between $1.5 and $2 million worth of work on the ice arena this summer. The three areas being touched for the most part this summer are that main lobby, some of the cosmetic changes and functional changes related to the shop and the Zamboni area. The audio system, my understanding, is going to be replaced and pulled out, and so you'll actually be able to hear something instead of the Peanuts teacher over the sound system. And then finally, we're spending mid-5 figures on the hockey locker room itself, as far as kind of a rehab or cosmetic touch-up with some of the carpet and some other changes that are needed within the hockey locker room.
So the hockey fans should be pleased that everything is on schedule over there.
Well, I think, yeah, I don't want to consider this phase 2. Some people have asked me, so is this phase 2? And no, this is just some wrap-up stuff with phase 1 that we still needed to get done. We've still got a laundry list, probably another $4 million that we'd like to do within that building, and that's going to be fundraising contingent at this point. Feel good about how the campaign's going. We're still in what I would call a major gift phase. It's been quiet for a little while. Some people have said, when are we going to get to the grassroots point? And you don't want to get to the grassroots point until you know it's going to be successful, because I think the worst thing we could do now is say, hey, we're on the home stretch, when we're really not on the home stretch. But the fact is, I think it's been less than 2 years that we've been at this, and you know, we've raised probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 to $6 million all told, you know, between the facility and the scholarship fund. So, yeah, I think we've made good progress.
How about other sports facilities on the campus? Other things are happening besides just the Stroh?
Exactly. I think the thing that, Dave, that's going to be most visible this summer for fans will be the soccer lights. You know, we've had somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000 through 2 major gifts from former soccer players, and we'll put lights up on Cochran Soccer Field. And I think that the visibility and flexibility that'll give our teams to be able to play at night will be a great boost to those 2 programs. A couple things that aren't probably getting as much note. You know, we've got to do some rehab and renovation work at Anderson Arena to get it ready for gymnastics. That'll start in July, since Anderson will be the new home to gymnastics. And then tennis and softball are getting locker rooms on the west side of the stadium here. We're doing some office rehab over there, turning those into locker rooms. So I believe, if I've got it right, we've now got, for the first time, all 18 of our sports covered with locker rooms, which seems simplistic, but it's a bit of a milestone from that standpoint.
Well, people have asked me about Anderson Arena, and with the gymnastics people moving in, does that mean there will be no basketball, no high school basketball, and that type of thing, or is that still a possibility?
Not in Anderson Arena,
Not in
but
Anderson.
yeah,
Right.
we've already worked with the high school association, and we're expecting high school basketball in the Stroh Center this year. Some of it's contingent on dates and so forth with the NCAA, but oh, absolutely, we're going to have high school basketball here.
Let's talk a little bit more about hockey. Let's get back to the hockey. And you're a part of the, what are you a part of here? You're the chair of the CCHA Council.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what's essentially all of the athletics directors and FARs, that's the management function of the CCHA.
So is that a good thing, and is that a good thing for Bowling
Depends on
Green
who you
State
talk to.
University?
Okay. No, it's a rotation, and I happen to be the chair this year. So there's nothing I would say glamorous about it from that standpoint. Like any volunteer type organizations or associations, you run the meeting, and then this happens to be a rather tumultuous year, so I'm the one that gets to answer the press questions a little bit more. But yeah, some people have poked fun at me that my year as chair is going to be winding down at the same time my year of chair of the women's basketball committee picks up, and it's got a bit of a tumultuous year ahead of it. So just I guess by happenstance from that standpoint. But it's been an interesting year, and it's not quite done yet. I've got about another month left before that transition occurs, and I'm guessing the next question from your list has something to do with where does the CCHA stand? And
sure.
You know, Notre Dame clearly, I've used this analogy a couple times, I think, in one of these too, that if people remember a year ago some of the drama that played out in the football conferences, how Texas held a lot of the cards. In hockey this year, Notre Dame's the one that pulls the cards. And will they stay in the CCHA? Will they jump to Hockey East? Will they be the leaders in forming their own conference? You know, that's kind of the $60,000 question right now. But the folks at Notre Dame have been good to work with. They've been as transparent as they can be, and you know, some people in this process around the hockey world have not been transparent, and you know, it's a bit of a dysfunctional sport from a standpoint of I'm not sure everybody involved has the best interests of the sport, you know, I guess in mind, but. It'll be interesting. I think we've been through our process a couple of years ago of where do we stand, and we're absolutely committed to Division I hockey and playing at the highest level. I can't predict where we'll, you know, whether we'll stay in the CCHA and what happens with the CCHA, or do we wind up with another group. I'll continue to say what I've said all along, whether it's publicly or to the other CCHA schools. I think if we had our druthers, our choices to stay in the CCHA, whether it's geography, rivalries, history, whatnot. But obviously we've made a commitment to hockey, and we're going to be seeking out what's best for Bowling Green hockey down the road.
Kind of jumping over.
Yeah.
Dave, he's fielding the questions beautifully, so that's not a problem. We've got a new president that's moved in, and when a new president comes in, do they contact you? Do you contact them? And obviously, you're hoping that Mary Ellen Macy will be very much pro sports.
Absolutely, and well, Dr. Macy's the boss, so she obviously sets the tone, and had the opportunity to be part of the interview process, and then obviously I've already met with her and been in other exchanges with her, but you know, she's made it very clear both publicly and in private conversations that athletics is important to her. But at the end of the day, you know, we've talked about this before. We're only about 3% of the university's budget, even though we are about 50% of the media attention. So she understands that dynamic, and but clearly in an institution of what, in the neighborhood of 2,500 to 3,000 employees, you know, athletics is you know, again, a rather small piece of things, but large visibility wise. But you know, she sets the tone. You know, again, what we went through a couple of years ago, I don't think there's going to be any directional changes. You know, we are going to stay Division I. We'll be a part of the MAC. We'll be part of the CCHA, depending on how that works out. Sure. But she's made it clear that she supports athletics, that she's an advocate for and a fan of our teams. So look forward to working with her, and I know our fans will see her at games this fall.
When it comes to the athletic department, you're the boss. So that means you get a chance to sit down and evaluate coaches. One of the questions submitted pertain to when you sit down and evaluate a coach, what types of things are you looking for? And I think they're probably thinking in terms of where does winning fall into this equation as compared maybe to grade point average and how the young people are behaving both on and off the court, field, and ice?
Yeah, it's not a simple answer, and I think that would be one of the first things I would say in evaluating coaches or directors or senior staff members. And I think sometimes in the emotional logic of athletics, people want it to be a simple answer. And that's kind of the nature, human nature to some degree. You want things to be simplistic. One of the things I say within the department, and I think I've said it publicly before too, I view our coaches, just as I view our directors, as the CEOs of their sports. And with that in mind, I expect them to manage the entire operation. And that goes from the budget to the behavior to certainly the wins and losses. The scoreboard's important. You can't get around it. That's why we're in this business. Everybody within the department is somehow performance-based, whether it's the fundraisers who need to raise money, the academics folks that need to keep people eligible, or the coaches that ultimately need to win games. But to say it's purely wins and losses, I think is overly simplistic. There is a behavior piece to it. There's a marketplace piece to it. Marketplace as it relates to engaging our fans. Marketplace when it comes to the recruits. And we test that marketplace. How are recruits and high school coaches, club coaches responding to Bowling Green as far as credibility in that marketplace? At our level, I'm guessing at any level, but certainly at our level, the budget is important. Are you able to manage a budget, whether it's a 5-figure budget or a 7-figure budget? I certainly don't mean to be evasive about it, but it's a rather complex evaluation that you got to take a look at. And at the end of the day, I guess the one point I would emphasize at the end is it's the directional nature of things. And that's not something you can always say is hard and fast, and it's going to be a little bit squishy sometimes or gray, and people want, again, black and white answers, but it's the directional nature of the sport. Where do you see this program headed? We've never measured simply on championships or simply on wins and losses, but where do you think the program is headed as an overall direction?
One final thing. Let's go back
Sure.
to basketball for a minute. Bill Frack,
Yeah.
the $10 million, and of course that takes effect upon Bill's passing, so we're hoping it'll be many, many years before that occurs. But one of the questions submitted pertained to, once that does happen, and the $10 million are pumped into the basketball program, does that free up money that normally would have gone to basketball to go to other sports?
Well, again, the nature of that gift, just to emphasize a couple of things, you touched on it. One, it is a deferred gift. Let's remember that. Bill's been incredibly generous and will continue to be incredibly generous. But the big number is a deferred gift. So you're right. It will take a few years, we hope, to kick in. The nature of the gift, though, if we also remember, was about helping men's basketball get better, and that means more resources. So I believe there will be a ripple effect, whether it's resource-wise or some other things helping other sports, and we've got to keep equity in mind with any incremental resources or some of these shifting resources that we make with the moves. But the bottom line is we need to improve some things within men's basketball, whether that means we need to play more home games, like an A-10 program or a Big Ten or Big East program. We need to have a better recruiting budget, whether it's strength coaches, academic advisors, some of the support areas around the program. So I don't think it's as simple as saying, okay, if this is what we're spending on men's basketball, here comes the FRAC money to plug it. We can just take all this and pick it up and move it over there. Again, I think there'll be some ripple effects because of people that are now devoting time to men's basketball that will have time freed up that we can help other sports. And again, equity is a piece of this. But again, it's too simple to say we'll just shift this from this. We don't accomplish anything if we do that. Again, we've talked about how we resource men's basketball here and some of our other sports, that we need to get better at that to help the programs get better. We don't accomplish anything if we keep everything at the bottom. So that's again, longer answer than you may have wanted. Gives the detail.
One sport we did not touch upon, but I bet we will when we meet in about a month,
Yep.
and that's football. So you be thinking about that, and when we get together again for Ask the AD, football will be probably the main thing.
Sounds good. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.